Welcome to Revival Town Podcast. I'm Chuck Tate. That's Andy King.
How you doing, mate?
Doing great, mate. I can almost touch you.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Now, if you were like, what are they on about? You may need to jump onto the YouTube channel or hit the link on the website. We are in a new studio. It's not new if you were watching Mission Peoria just a few weeks ago when we did the podcast, but we got a few new camera angles. There's this one up here. Yeah, if you want to wave at that, Chuck, make sure. Hey.
So we're in a new room.
We're in a whole
still
new
at
room.
The church in a different room. We're actually in the official green room.
Yeah, and it is green.
It is green.
I mean, if people tune in right now and look at you, they're going to see green all around you. Green everywhere.
Right. So, yeah, we completely took everything out and set up the podcast, and I love it.
Yeah, it's good.
I like this.
You're cool. Trying to figure out how to do it here more often.
Yeah, I'm usually further away from you.
Yeah, but obviously we are right across the table from each other. And so, yeah, we're going to have fun today. We've got a great interview. But let's talk a little bit about this room. We said it's green. This is one of the rooms that you and the team come into before church, right? And well, it's the green room. It's where you pray, get ready for service, and then you go right out this door and you're into the auditorium. First, I want to thank you. I don't think we've done it since all these different episodes we've been recording. I wanted to thank you for allowing us to come to Rock Church and do Mission Peoria night. So the night celebration, youth celebrations, have been here at Rock Church. You preached every night. And it was just a great time. But I wanted to thank you and your staff for opening everything up. I mean, you even put a brand new sign outside
just for you guys.
Oh,
yeah. No, we have. We did speed that up because we wanted it to be a nice welcome for all the Mission in Peoria students that were here. We've had this project on the back burner for a while, simply because of supply chain, supply and demand is behind since post-COVID, and we are waiting on some trussing, and the sign's finally up, but we're honored. We were absolutely honored to host Mission Peoria. We love Dream Center. One of our core values is for the 309. In fact, when we rewrote all of our core values, we met with you at the Dream Center. Yeah. You helped coach us and helped us navigate those waters, and then we came up with 8 core values. We preached them at the church to begin 2023, and now here we are at the end of summer. Mission Peoria was here where we got to practice what we preach in being for the 309, being for a Dream Center, Mission Peoria. So thank you.
Well, we just want to thank you for it. We couldn't have done it without you. There's obviously different places we could have gone, but with the crowd that we had, it wasn't as big as a normal crowd. Normally we would have 400 plus people, which you would tell us very quickly that crowd would be too big for the venue that you've got here, right?
Yeah, we have to do multiple services as our facility's a little bit smaller. It's turned out to be a really good fit.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you
for that. And why don't you tell us just briefly what we're about to hear?
We are going to meet Heather Thompson Day. She's the author of her latest book. It's a newer book, and it's called I'll See You Tomorrow. She co-wrote it with her husband, Seth Day. I did the Audible version, loved it because they both narrate it. So good. And she is just an excellent communicator. She's been on some tour things with Beth Moore. She's been on the Today Show.
Yeah,
she's
BBC in the UK.
Right. She's a professor in Michigan, and you're going to love her story. You're going to love what she has to share. I know you're going to be ministered to by Heather Thompson Day. It's going to be good.
So why don't you sit back and relax, perhaps grab an iced lemonade or a sweet tea. Sorry, all the Brits that are listening going, what is that?
Or a coffee.
Okay, coffee, get a coffee.
An iced coffee.
Yeah. And enjoy this interview with Heather.
This podcast is part of the Edify Podcast Network. Edify is a faith-inspiring app that brings together thousands of the best Christian podcasts in one place for your listening enjoyment. Cut through the noise and grow your faith by diving into the world's top Christian podcasts today. Download the Edify app for free from the App Store or Google Play, or by going to edify.app. That's EDIFI.app.
All right, everyone, it's time for another conversation on Revival Town Podcast. Our guest today, Dr. Heather Thompson Day, is an interdenominational speaker, best-selling author, and podcaster. She's the host of Viral Jesus, a new podcast with Christianity Today, which charts in the top 200 of all Christian podcasts in the U.S. Heather is an associate professor of communication at Andrews University. She is passionate about supporting women and runs an online community called I'm That Wife, which has over 270,000 followers. We're going to talk to her about her new book, I'll See You Tomorrow. Heather, welcome to Revival Town.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, we're honored to have you, and we know that our listeners are going to love hearing your story, and they're going to be encouraged as we dive into your book about fighting to keep our relationships intact. They're worth fighting for, all that kind of stuff. But why don't you begin by just sharing us your story so we can get to know you?
Yeah. So the best way I can describe at least my personality is that I am forever a teacher and forever a student. I've been teaching in higher education for, 12, 13 years now. And I finished my PhD in I think 2018 or 2017, but I've never stopped trying to learn as much as I can about communication, which is my specific lane, but theology as well. And just trying to serve where I can in gaps that I fell in as a Christian and as a human being.
Wow. Now, just for everyone listening, Heather is the smartest person in the room right now. We're just making that clear.
Wait, can I tell you this story? So one time I was at the airport and I called, literally, they were like, you have to get rid of that water bottle. I had just gotten this brand new thermos filled with water. And I was like, oh, my mother-in-law just gave this to me. And I was like, I don't want to throw it away. I just got it. And my husband was like, throw out the water. And I was like, I have a PhD, and I was sitting here staring, literally just so conflicted. I don't want to get rid of the water bottle. He's like, just dump the water out of it. So I don't know if I'm the smartest person in this room right now.
Oh, that's good. That is so good.
Love it.
So tell us a little bit about, obviously you mentioned about the schooling and things like that and how that really helps you now and what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about that journey of choosing to go that route in schooling.
Yeah. So I'm still learning a lot about myself in therapy, as far as why I've made decisions that I thought I just randomly made. And now I realized, the wounds I was trying to fill in. But so I was expelled in 8th grade. I was one of the first kids to be expelled from my Christian middle school. And so it didn't just feel like I was getting expelled from school because it was my Christian school in this small community. It felt like I was being expelled from my church. And so I think truly, I never connected these two things until the last couple of years, but I think my whole pursuit of education is really tied to my trying to serve the kids that remind me of myself, the lost sheep, who just nobody ever saw me and said, you're going to be somebody. Besides my dad, and my parents, right? I never had that teacher or that adult. If anything, when I was expelled, the principal said to me, sometimes one bad peach will spoil the whole crate. And so that's why we have to remove the one bad peach. And just, so anyway, I am really passionate about seeing young people that feel like they haven't been seen or have been giving a label that I think isn't even true of who they actually are.
Sure.
And reminding them that God wants you.
Yeah.
Because for me, what's really fascinating is God continuously in my entire life, even when I was making such bad choices, like did not earn a thing. God, it's like makes me tear up just to think about. He just never stopped pursuing me. I know what it feels like to have the pursuit of God over your life, even when everybody around you is like telling you, get out of here, you're a bad peach. You know what I mean? So I'm just really passionate about standing in that gap for that kid who's not leading your chapel service, who thinks there's no way God could want either. Like nothing in my life looks like the type of people I'm seeing up front. I love seeing those kids, you know? And so that's why I've stayed in education, and it's like a job I can't believe I get paid to do.
Yeah, it's so good. I yesterday at the Dream Center, a lot of people know I run the Dream Center here in Peoria, and we have a whole youth division, after school programming, summer camps. We have a whole trades area where we teach kids everything from motor mechanics to carpentry to t-shirt printing. We have a coffee business. Like, we're trying to give kids a different way for when they leave school, because a lot of the students we see, there are some that will go on to college, but the majority are struggling educationally. And so what could we give them practically to be able to help them? So we have this whole trade school area. But yesterday it was the end of close to the end of summer camp, and there was over 100 students there, and our workers were there. They'd had a long 7 weeks of summer camp, and yet the energy in the room, and more importantly, the love that was coming from our staff and volunteers to the kids, and it was being reciprocated. And the kids, you could see love being around them as well. And they had a fun, they had a pool tournament and a table tennis tournament yesterday, and there was trophies and the energy. And I stood there thinking, what would be happening to these kids if we weren't doing what we're doing today?
Yeah.
And being able to welcome everyone into that program. And I hear what you're saying, like that type of having someone to be able to say, you're going to make it,
it makes all the difference.
It's huge, absolutely huge. So from that, obviously you're doing, going through school. When did you feel that, like, the call of God to, like, I want to do something to impact others? What was that type of pull? Because that's for a lot of people, they're going through life and thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do. But there was a time when you were like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to impact people this way. What was that journey like for you? And this might not be the answer people want to hear. I don't know that I had that. I always wanted to write books. That is the only job I ever really wanted to do. And my father, I just remember one day saying to me, you're not going to make money writing books. So you have to have like a real job. People make about $1 for every book that they sell. You have to have a job. And so I just my whole, like, what I perceive, that's why I'm saying when I look back now that I've been in therapy, I'm like, oh, that's why I made the choices I made. But at the time that I made them, I was just trying to have a job that allowed me to have summers off. Yeah. And vacation time so I could write books. Yeah.
That also had a paycheck. So I genuinely, that's what I'm saying. Like, God was leading me, even as I did not realize God was leading me. And I never had this clear vision of for me, even doing ministry, the only reason I ever first spoke is because my husband was a pastor and somebody asked to bring his wife to speak to the girls. I didn't want to be a speaker. I wanted to be a writer.
Sure. Right,
and so I showed up for like 13 girls at a camp and spoke. And then, like, people asked me to do it again and again. It just kind of happened. It wasn't that I even knew what I was doing. Right. I have made a mess of so many things, but God has very much intentionally led me, even as I didn't realize it.
Oh, that's good. Right. I love that. Well, you mentioned being expelled out of school. So I'm not for sure if I've shared this with you, Andy, or not. Maybe I have, but I got kicked out of a youth group back when I was in high school, and
I could totally see that.
No, but here's the thing: it wasn't. I didn't do anything illegal. It wasn't immoral.
Me either.
It was, yeah. Well, then it was honestly, it was a disagreement. It was a disagreement, and without telling the whole story, my pastor,
because they're listening.
My pastor at the time, his wife might be listening, but it had to do with honestly, it was over a girl. Nothing wrong happened with the girl, but long story short,
they just didn't want her dating someone like you.
The bad peach, remove him.
Well, the pastor's son was the youth leader, and his stepson was much younger, my age. We were friends, and there were some things that happened, and I mean, I contributed to it. I'm not saying that it had nothing to do with me, but it was really just really kind of ridiculous. But so I couldn't believe when I got a phone call, and my friend Billy and I were told we're kicked out. We're gonna, and I was devastated. And here's why: the church that we were at, we moved from Arizona to Illinois because my dad took a staff position at this church. So my dad was on staff.
Yeah.
I'm kicked out of the youth group.
Oh, man.
I don't even know if they discussed it with the senior pastor, but the damage was done, though. And, in that moment, I can laugh about it now, but when it happened, I was broken.
Absolutely.
And just devastated. I couldn't believe I've never been in any kind of trouble. So my friend and I, we found a youth group. There was a church that was close to where I lived, and we decided to check out that youth group. And I didn't know in this moment that God was setting me up and that he had already put some divine appointments in my pathway. And it was at that church that a youth pastor mentored me. He really guided me on what Bible college I chose to attend. I met my wife at this church. Now, looking back, my life would have looked much different had I not been kicked out of that youth group.
Good.
Isn't that amazing how God continues to work for us through what we would perceive to be? Because when I look at mine, I ended up going to public school, which I see now as it's so important to the ministry that I do now. I mean, I've served teaching, and I don't think I would have been comfortable working in public institutions had I not gone through public education myself, made so many relationships. A lot of my ministry is not necessarily with church people. Right. And I just see how God was so tender with me along that journey.
That's good.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, in your book, I'll See You Tomorrow, you mentioned where you quit the track team. And the thing that you said, and I love this. And by the way, I love the book, and I love the fact that
glad.
I love that Seth.
I love it too.
Your husband wrote it with you, and I just I did the Audible version, so I got to hear both of you, and I just
wonderful.
Just loved it. And one of the things you said in regards to quitting the track team was living your dream doesn't really matter, not if you feel alone.
Yeah.
So can you expound upon that a little bit?
Yeah, my goal, other than writing, was so I got kicked out. I went to the public school. I ended up running track in middle school. That first year that I started at this public school, I made so much community and friendships, and I was also very good at it. And so it created this little identity for me. And so my dream all throughout high school was, you're going to get a college scholarship to run track. That ended up happening. And then I had like the absolute worst freshman year of college, which now that I'm a teacher, it's funny because I think all freshmen have horrible years, right? I wasn't aware of that, but now I'm constantly with young people who are like, I can't be here. My roommate, there's so much roommate drama that happens on college campuses your freshman year. And that's what happened to me. I was just in a totally different environment, and I didn't want to run track anymore. And so I quit. I ended up going to the only school I swore I'd never go to, which was the university in my town where my mother worked, because I'd have subsidy if I went there. And actually, that's where I then got connected to my husband.
Wow.
So being at this school, I had worked 6 years to get to that point, and I was just like, I had broken up. I went to that school with my boyfriend at the time. We broke up by October, and I didn't feel like these were my people. At the end of the day, it didn't feel like I was supposed to be there. I wasn't fitting in the way that I had wanted to fit. So I left.
Wow.
Well, and for me, this is the first time we've met today, and obviously just reading some of the things that you've done, going from literally now hearing your story of going from, being kicked out to literally going on BBC Radio Live, the Today Show. Like, God has really taken your ministry and your books, and we're going to really focus in on the new book. But you have written 8 books, right? There's not many people out there that can say, I've done 8. Some are like, I'm going to try and do 1. Can you you don't have to go through them all, but just tell our listeners a little bit about some of the other books you've written before we really focus on the new one.
Yeah, so I actually don't like anybody to read anything I wrote before 2016, just because a lot of my life has changed. This is the truth. Yeah. My perspective. I found in my basement the first book I ever wrote, and I was like, "Oh, look at this!" And I was reading it, and I was like, my eyes got wide. I said, "Oh my goodness, I would never want my daughter to read some of the things that I wrote down." And I was honestly doing the best I could with the tools that I had. Right. So the last book I wrote that I'm very proud of is called "It's Not Your Turn." And I wrote that book because I was pitching publishing houses for 7 years, could not get a book deal. At the same time, I'm trying to get a job in higher education and academia. I never took a summer off. So I graduated high school in 2005. I went straight into college, went straight into grad school, straight into my PhD program, never missing a summer. And so I felt like I did all the right things. And yet I could not get hired in higher education to save my life. I was adjuncting at 5 different institutions, making no money. And I had this moment where it was my daughter's first birthday, and I was trying to make this Pinterest dinner with everybody to come over to our house for her, and my card got declined. So I had bought in all the food, but then I said, "Oh, I forgot paper party plates." And I went back to get the paper party plates. It's $2, and my card is declined on $2. As I'm working for 5 different institutions, and my husband, it was the most quiet ride home. I can still remember we're sitting in the car and we're just like, this is our life. Yeah. And why is this so hard? And my sister's dropping diapers off on our doorstep and pretending it wasn't her, right? Because we just needed so much help, and it was just so hard. And at the exact same time that all of this is happening, I'm praying, God, please just give me a job. Just give me a full-time job. Just give me a job. I've done all the right things, please. My phone rings, and it's one of my best friends from elementary school who actually got kicked out with me. Her name is Jewel, and she did not do all the right things, did not stay in just totally different path. And she calls me and is like, "Girl, you're not going to believe it." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "I just got hired by NASA." And I was like, "Wow, God, that is something." Wow, okay, great. And I had this moment immediately where I'm like, I don't have $2.50. Jewel is going to NASA. And I'm like, it just feels like you're not listening to me. And so I'm trying to muster up the energy to say to her, I am so happy for you, because I was. Right. I am happy for her. I'm just sad for me. And I heard in my head what I perceived to be the Holy Spirit say, "It's not your turn. It's not your turn, but it's hers. So you're going to clap for her, and you're going to show up for her."
Come on.
And so that's what I did. And so throughout the next couple years, it's other people seemed to be getting all the prayers I was praying for myself. I just would say to myself, "It's not your turn." But just because it's not your turn doesn't mean it won't ever be. Right. But how? Yes. And so at the end of the day, what I decided was who we are when it's not our turn is actually more important than who we will be when it is. It's a mantra I still hold to. When I get on any podcast interview, when I'm on with you guys, in my mind, I every single time say, "This is Good Morning America. And you are going to show up as if this is the most important thing you will ever do in your entire life." When I did my podcast, Viral Jesus, they were the first few episodes. I mean, we were trying to hit 1,000 views. And every single time I just said, "You're going to turn on this mic and you're going to show up as if it's the most important opportunity you've ever been given in your entire life." So I started living my life that way, and my circumstances did not change. I still didn't get a book deal. I still didn't have thousands of downloads, but I changed. And the way I was showing and the way people were receiving me changed. Yeah. And so eventually circumstances did change, but it was 7 years. It wasn't overnight.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's so good. I know people listening can relate to that. I remember sitting in a car with my family when I had a similar situation, and my card was declined, and I called, and my account had been frozen, and I'm like doing ministry. I've already written a book.
Yes.
I'm doing all these things, and I'm like, God, what in the heck is going on? And in fact, this is to go right along with what you were saying about we need to celebrate and cheer on. So I used to have this beat up minivan. I just got rid of it like a year and a half ago, and this will tell you about it. It had been sitting in my driveway for a while, and somebody knocked on my door, offered me cash for it so he could enter it into a demolition derby. True story. So I did. I went and found the title and I sold it to him. I get it off my property. But while I was driving this for one of the last times I drove it, it broke down.
Yeah.
I'm on the side of the road in this minivan, just frustrated. I've been pastoring for years we've given our life for the ministry in the church. And my dream car was always a Mini Cooper, and I had one for a little while, but it was a lemon, right? But anyway, so I'm in this minivan. I'm sitting on the side of the road, literally on a brick wall, waiting for somebody to come get me. And Andy calls me, FaceTimes me, and is like, mate, you're not going to believe this. I'm on my way back from Chicago. I just got a new Mini Cooper. So he's in his Mini Cooper, brand new. I'm in my broken down minivan. But I did. I celebrated him. I cheered him on.
Sure you did.
But
it is not your turn.
Right, it's not my turn. Oh man, that is good stuff. Well, tell us, Heather, what inspired I'll See You Tomorrow?
Yeah, so actually it was Jewel again. So I had a friend that she was sending me a screenshot of something, and she forgot to crop out what she had said above it. So she sends me the screenshot to show me what somebody else had said, but I saw what she had said first. And it was I felt like offensive to me. It just wasn't the way I would want my friends to be engaging in conversation about me. And so I see this screenshot and I send it to Jewel. And I'm like, hey, should I say something to this other friend? Should I call her out? This is wrong. And she was like, you can do that. Or you can choose to look at this incident in light of your 10 plus year relationship with her. And you can ask yourself, is this an incident or is this a pattern? Because if it's a pattern, then yes, call her out, break the pattern. But if it's just one incident, maybe we choose to see her in the span of the 10 years and not in this singular incident. And it was the best advice I got. I never said anything to that friend. We have had no more incidents since. So it was just this moment for me where I started to realize, I've been the bad friend. I've been the jealous friend. I've been the friend that forgot to call. I've been the person who should have shown up for you and just couldn't. And what if everybody judged me based on that one singular incident? And so it's more as a professor, I work with young people all the time. And I'm concerned that we are raising an entire generation of young people to be very good. I'm not saying that this is bad. I think this is important conversation, but they are very good at the vocabulary of boundaries. They are very good about toxic. They are very good about knowing when to leave. Well, what about knowing how to stay? And so I do think it's important to know when to leave. Yes. But how do we also talk about how we stay? Because not every person is toxic. Words mean things, right? Like not every relationship should be cut off. In fact, I think you'll have none if we cut off every single person. The only thing you will ever have in common with the person next to you is that neither of you are perfect. Right. And how are we honest about that part too? So that's why we wrote the book. I'll See You Tomorrow is kind of like the bless your heart. It's like, hey, I am upset right now and I'm struggling and I'm angry, but you know what? Let's pause. I'm going to walk away right now and I'll see you tomorrow. We'll pick this back up later. I want people to have that type of vocabulary for relationships that are incidents and not patterns.
That's so good because we live in cancel culture where everybody, if there's a disagreement, I'm just going to unfriend you. I'm going to block you. I'm not following you anymore. But I love how the book is let's not cancel. Let's cultivate this relationship.
Yes.
Let's do what we can to make it work because God does see greatness. Or like Seth said, when someone sees a pothead, God sees a pastor, right? I love that.
Yeah, that's good. It also reminds me of there have been so many relationships and ministry relationships that an email will come in or a text will come in, and we respond immediately to it and not step back and literally saying, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm gonna answer that tomorrow when I've thought through my response, because and you must have seen this, some answers from emails or texts go through and literally ministries could be shut down, or areas of churches could be shut down, or like we talked about earlier, someone is trying to explain themselves. You can't see emotion on an email or a text, and now someone's thrown out of a church or has been asked to not do ministry anymore, and it wasn't what they were trying to say,
right?
But we didn't step back and say, I'm going to answer that tomorrow. Is that some of the stuff that you were thinking when writing that?
Yes. So we are living in a time, National Safety Council put this out, I think in 2022, January of 2022, that 3 out of 5 Americans say, I feel more exhausted now than I have in my entire life. So I do think part of the problem is not that we don't want relationships. It's not that our best selves don't want to figure out how to make time for one another. It's that a lot of us are so exhausted that I'm so afraid already, if you pull at all, I'm done. Right. And so that's kind of what I want us to have to be aware of. And here's the unfortunate or very fortunate thing. So you are biologically wired to exist. And I would say this is true of evolutionary biology, but also Christianity. You are wired to exist in relationship with other people. And so the first thing we do when we're frustrated or we're angry or we're burned out and we're exhausted is we want to pull back and be totally alone. I don't want to deal with anybody because I don't have the capacity to do that. But actually, what makes you feel like you can keep going, what gives you resiliency, what brings hope back into your life, and everybody has had this moment where you spend one night, you can be at the end of your rope, you spend one night with people who love you, and you wake up the next morning and you're like, I can do my life again. Because that is biologically programmed into who you are. We thrive in relationship and community. So we are cutting off the actual antidote for all of our exhaustion and depression.
That's good.
Wow. That's good. That's good. Well, one of the things you say in the book is we can't control other people's behavior, but we can control our own.
Yes.
And then you share this story, and I've never heard this story. And I'm in Illinois. We're surrounded by Chicago Bulls fans. I mean, love MJ, the best ever, all that. In fact, Andy was saying, like when we're recording this, when this airs, we have just finished doing this week-long Mission Peoria camp with all these students, and because it's 23, all the shirts that Andy had designed have the number 23 in the back for, to look like MJ, like the Bull. So you tell the story about Michael Jordan's limo driver, George. I was so fascinated by this. Can you share that story?
Yes, and it was like he wasn't even supposed to get in that car, right? It was. Right. He was there to pick up somebody else. Michael ended up getting in his car, and I think George said to him, if you need anything while you're new in the area, just let me know. And he gave him his card. And Michael, a couple days later, actually called him to say, do you know of a good place to get my hair cut? And from that one interaction, they ended up becoming best friends. Now he works for Michael Jordan. They've been friends for, over 20 years. Wow. It is. So what I love about that is, so how often does somebody say to any of us, hey, if you need anything, or hey, while you're here, I would love to hang, and we just don't do it.
Yeah.
For whatever variety of reasons. And so what is fascinating to me is we never know at the start of something where it goes.
Yeah.
We are all always, you did not know, Chuck, when you went to that new youth group, that your wife was there. Right. You had no idea. Right? Michael did not know when he asked for a haircut that he was actually engaging in a relationship that would be one of the best relationships he's had, and his deepest relationship. So much is available to us, and we don't know because we don't take the first step to do something a little bit uncomfortable and ask somebody for a good haircut place. Ask somebody, where's a good place to go out to eat? Ask somebody, hey, do you want to go get chips and salsa after work? Those are the things that we have to do, is go a little bit outside of our comfort zone to actually have the antidote to the rest of all the exhaustion and depression and stuff that we're experiencing.
Yeah, it's just that little like you said about the limo driver, I guarantee when he said it to Michael, he wasn't thinking he's gonna reach back out. Like, it's Michael Jordan, you know what I mean? It's like 1,000 people probably say that to him, but that one line literally changed his life forever, as now he's working alongside Jordan and good friends.
And he didn't know that Michael Jordan was going to be the best in the world. This was at the beginning of
right at the beginning.
Career.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have to be willing to pursue relationships, to slow down enough to have that coffee, to have that appointment, to email Heather's assistant and say, hey, we think she'd come on the podcast, whatever it takes. Yeah. We have to be real. I mean, even my first book, I'm working on my second book right now. And my first one was a result of me. I was scared to death, but I approached this rock star literary agent just to give her my elevator pitch. And the rest is history. I almost didn't do it because I was just afraid. And then I started talking myself out of it. It's probably a dumb idea. She's not going to like it. Whatever. So I just love that. And of course, sometimes it's through all this that we meet people that are going to help us through our seasons. God is setting us up to get through dark times. And one of the things that you said, and I'll see tomorrow, is we can survive our darkest days when we stay connected with our dearest people.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Can you share on that? Expound on that a little bit? Yeah.
I'm just carry one another's burdens, for in doing so we fulfill the law of God. I am a big believer that the only way, and you talk to people who have really been through some stuff, the only way you can get through something you swore every step of the way, I'm not going to get through this, is together. When we let people in to help carry the burden, that is how we survive very dark times. And I'm just a big believer. Actually this morning, I had a DM from a friend whose baby it's a friend on Twitter. It's not even somebody I've met in real life, but her baby's been diagnosed with a terminal illness. And so a group of us from Twitter sent flowers and a massive DoorDash gift card so that they can have free meals whenever her and her husband want it. And she just wrote this morning, was like, and I literally told people, I don't want anything right now, like save it. But when I got this gift, I can't tell you how supported it's made me feel at this moment. And it's like, let's all, like, to whatever ability we have, I am telling you, you will never regret letting somebody know I see you. My husband to this day, so in the book, in his first chapter, he talks about his brother dying of cancer at 2 days after his 19th birthday. And I was very good friends with his brother too. I've known my husband since 6th grade. And my husband will still tell you, like, he knows who was at that funeral. You will never regret going to the funeral. You will never regret sending the card. You will never regret taking a little bit of effort to just let somebody know, I see you and I'm sorry. Yeah. We have to be, and I just think, especially as Christians, my goodness, we must literally carry one another's burdens in whatever way we are able. I think a lot can go a long way in moments of difficulty where we just let somebody know, like, hi, I'm here.
Yeah. That's so good.
Wow. Well, I know the story impacted me, and in fact, I believe that right before his brother passed away, didn't he say, Satan, get out of this room, Jesus is my king? And that just, like, man, I mean, at the very end.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it really.
He had been in a coma for like 3 days, hadn't spoken, and all of a sudden he wakes up and just thrashes his head. 19-year-old kid who, by the way, was not at all, again, the type of kid that's leading out in your chapel. And he says, Satan, get out of this room, Jesus. It's the last words he said before he died. Before that, when he had woken up from the coma 3 days prior, he did say to my husband, brother, and even the language, I'm like, this is the Holy Spirit. What 19? I just want you to understand, Tyler was not like this door-to-door preacher. I mean, this is a mall kid partier hanging out. And he grabs Seth at 7. He would have been 18. Seth would have been 17. And he says, brother, at all costs, you have to be there. Talking about heaven. Brother, at all costs, whatever, you have to be there. It changed my husband's entire life.
Wow.
Those words, and that's why he's given his life to ministry. And it's just, Yeah, God is so good at revealing his presence even in our deepest moments of challenge and difficulty.
Wow. Well, I think that's a great segue into praying for our listeners. And in fact, Seth said in the book, human suffering is far from ideal, but as believers, we are called to walk by faith and not by sight. And that's really the key to everything. And I know there are people listening, they're suffering, they're hurting. Maybe this is the nudge that they need from you to say, hey, schedule that appointment, text that person, make that phone call. Don't give up on the relationship. What can you do to cultivate it? What can you do to improve it? Maybe, hey, don't do that reply yet. Don't send that email. Sleep on it. Pray about it. Can you take a moment and pray for our listeners?
It would be my honor. Dear Heavenly Father, I just first, I want to thank you for pursuing each and every one of us, God. When other people have walked out, you have always walked in. When other people have forgotten us, you have always remembered. And so I just thank you for your consistency in pursuing your people. And Father, I feel very impressed that there is somebody listening who is on the edge of trying to figure out how to put themselves out there again. And maybe it's a particular relationship, or it's in relationships in general, or maybe it's for an opportunity. But I just pray that you would surround them in this moment, that you would give them wisdom, that you would give them clarity, and that more than an answer, you would just give them yourself. I think it's Mark Batterson who says, when we seek after answers, we may not find them, but when we seek after God, we will always find him. And so, God, may we just seek after you, and may you, as the good shepherd, which I know you have been over me, Father, may you extend that over every single person who's listening, and just step by step by step, even when we have no clue where we're going, may you lead us on this journey. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, Heather, we want to thank you for coming on, but we want people to connect with you. And so can you just let people know the best ways that they could connect with you? Social media, podcasts, websites, getting the book, anything that you would like to share just with regards to connecting with you?
Yeah. So you can just go to heatherthompsonday.com and it will have links to all my social media, links to books. At the bottom of my website, I do a newsletter that I send out. It's just an encouraging email that I send out every single Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to subscribe to that, just scroll to the bottom of my website and put in your email, and you'll get one the next Friday that it comes.
That's great.
Right on.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on to Revival Town today, but we always end the show with the big three, which is 3 questions. Really got nothing to do with the book, but everything to do with you. And so we wanted to throw these questions out. You want me to start, Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kick us off.
You mentioned that you live in, I think you mentioned it, but you mentioned it to us, live in Michigan, which is a beautiful place. A lot of people go vacation different areas around. Where would be your place to go in Michigan just to go and have a nice weekend away?
Yeah, where I live. So I live in St. Joe, Michigan. It is the sweetest, cutest beach town.
It is.
Chicago people are there all the time. And if you're there, go to Silver Beach Pizza.
Okay.
It's right there.
I've been there.
Lake Michigan. It's on Silver. Yes. Is it not the best pizza?
Yes.
Yes, it is so good. Such a great time.
We lost my daughter there, not at the pizza place, but at the beach. A scary, crazy story.
You did find her, though, right?
We found her.
Okay, good.
Scariest moment of my life.
That happens actually quite a bit because there's so many people there. But the lifeguards are so good. They will call her name over and over on the loudspeakers, and everybody it's a small town. So we all come together, and the kids are always found, at least every time I'm there.
That's good. That's good.
All right. All right. So my question is, obviously you're a teacher, you're an author. Who inspires you? Who do you like to read, or who do you like to listen to?
Oh, so that question is different based on just, I guess, what book I'm in. Right now I'm doing a lot of N.T. Wright, Michael Heiser, and Amy Jill Levine.
Okay. Great.
N.T. Wright is good British guy there.
There we go.
Okay, so we talked about Michigan. If you're going on vacation outside of Michigan, where are you going?
I always go to Clearwater, Florida. It is where I got married. My grandparents had a condo down there when I was a kid, so I went all the time as a child. And now me and my husband take our kids. Clearwater, Florida, Tampa area.
Right
Absolutely beautiful.
Great.
Love it.
Well, we just, again, want to thank you for coming on to Revival Town podcast today, Heather. I know that people are going to love listening to this, and not only listening to this, but then going and getting the book and get on the newsletter. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter, and that would be great. And but we just want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today on Revival Town podcast. Thank you so much, Heather.
It was my honor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Heather. And we're back. What you think, mate?
Oh, man, that was good. That was good. I mean, we definitely were not the smartest people in the room. She could try and say that all she was, but no. We were not smart compared to Heather. She was amazing.
So I have a question. She was kicked out of her school. I was kicked out of a youth group. You ever been kicked out of anything? Come on, man.
No.
Nothing? All
I've been
right.
kicked out of anything.
Okay.
I'm, you know, when you guys were saying that, I was like, no, I'm the most well-behaved guy here. I may have been kicked off a soccer field once or twice for going in on a tackle too hard. But apart from that, no, I'm a good boy.
A good boy. All right. Well, you blew out your knee though right before Mission Peoria a few years ago, and
man,
Dave Jane had to
that was bad.
take a front row seat. But
That was
no.
bad. Oh,
And
yeah.
well,
I don't want to
good
relive
stuff.
that. But
so
yeah.
we want, hey, you guys go to heatherthompsonday.com, heatherthompsonday.com. Follow her on Instagram and Threads and Twitter and all the above, and sign up for her newsletter so you can get it on Friday. I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, that's great. That's absolutely what you want to do. And you know what it is? You know, I was reading her bio, and she had actually been on the BBC in England. You know what's coming next,
I
don't
am
you?
ready. Tate and his mate. Let's do this.
Tate and his mate. Now, I may have done this one before, but I really don't care.
We
Because
should have invited her to stay on since
I
she did BBC.
I know.
All right, go ahead.
But the reason why I'm bringing this one up is because, you know, I've been doing this garden, right?
Yes.
And it is like, I'm starting to get a lot of stuff off of this garden, the potatoes and all these things. And there is one plant, right? The one vegetable that I'm growing. And every time I talk to my wife or Joy, I always use the English version of the word and not the American, and they correct me, right? So
Right.
we may have done this one before, but I want to tell you a little bit about the differences as well. So if I said to you courgette, do you know what that is?
I don't even know if I could repeat what you just said.
Courgette.
Corvette, like driving a Corvette. No, okay.
Courgette.
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 Okay. Is it like it's like a Corvette, but it's a jet? Courgette. Can you use it and put it in context?
Yeah, sorry.
put it in a sentence.
Yeah. You can roast these, you can grill them, and you can put them in bread. Oh!
So
You are not going to get this.
So courgette it's a food item.
Yeah, I said I was growing it in my garden. What else do you think? Do you think I'm growing cars in my garden?
I've definitely signed up for Heather's newsletter. I need some help.
Oh, you're having trouble. You're having trouble.
Is it a vegetable?
Well, if it's grown in the garden, what do you think it is?
Here's your sign. Oh my goodness! Somebody help me.
Oh, please.
Oh,
okay.
I grow it in my garden. Is it a vegetable? Why? So it's not. So you're not smoking it. Maybe I've been smoking something. Courgette. I'm going to go with zucchini.
I'm so mad. You got it right. After all that.
You gotta be kidding me.
No. Zucchini.
I honestly don't believe it.
Of all the vegetables you can pick, of all of them, you get the one.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
So here's the difference. Okay, so in England, they call it courgette. And because we're so close to France, that's why it's called the courgette, right?
Yeah.
But zucchini is the same word, but in Italian.
Oh.
And so that's, it's not even like English. Courgette is the French word and zucchini is the Italian word.
Okay.
There you go. I'm so mad that you got that. Oh, man.
I can't even believe it. I should win a prize.
No,
Okay.
no, you're not
right.
winning anything.
What a great show.
Yeah, really good. And again, thank you for listening, but make sure you're telling people about it. I mean, we're over 80,000 downloads now, and people are really getting into this thing, and we love doing it. So please let people know. Here's another thing that you can do. If you've got someone who is making a difference, right? I had a guy reach out this week and said, hey, you should have this gal on. She is making a difference. She reminds me of someone you've had on before. Let us know. Send us a DM through our Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook page, and we'll try and get them on. Now, obviously, it's hard to get people on, right? We've tried to get some pretty big folks on, and some have said, not right now. We will in a few months, but if you could do that, that will help us out. Just give us a bit of ideas of who you would like on. Right, Chuck?
Right on. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. It's all about you. And again, thanks to our guest, Heather Thompson, today for being willing to come on. Always a joy.
All right, mate. Well, thank you so much for doing this. We're looking at that camera.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
that is listening and telling people about it. And we'll be back this time next week. So make sure you tune in. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Revival Town Podcast. Make sure you're following us on social media and remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For more information, head on over to revivaltownpodcast.com.